Okay, where shall we start?
Let's start from the beginning.
Let's start from the beginning.
My name is Jessica Morrison, and for many years I was a teacher, and I also sold real estate.
My name is Gerald Hurley, and I'm retired. I worked for the Park and Recreation Department in the city of Riverside for 25 years. I was the sports supervisor.
My name is Mike Goldware, and for 30 years I practiced law.
I've known him most of my life. We met when we were college freshmen at UC Berkeley, and we dated for about 4 years, and then were married after we graduated. And he was asked to join a basketball team in Spain, so we moved to Madrid and started our life together there. I was really looking forward to it. We had just finished we had just graduated from college, and we had planned to go on to graduate school, but I think we needed a break between graduation and postgraduate studies. So it was a perfect time to go, and it was a really interesting time in Spain. Franco was still in power, and it was a historical time.
I've known Stan for approximately 20 years, and in the early 2000s we worked together on a special project, a youth clinic in the city of Riverside. He was extremely helpful in securing the UCR men's basketball team to conduct the clinic for our grammar school youth in a camp. And it was at a park site. And I got to see close up how Stan organizes an event and advertises an event. And he was there on the day of the clinic, and it went very successfully.
I'm not sure. I'm not certain. It would have been just after he became the athletic director at the University of California, Riverside, also known as UCR. My guess is late 99 or early 2000, because he still comments on the fact that he just missed the Congressional Medal of Honor Society's National Convention, which was held in Riverside.
Well, his dedication to helping other people, and the way he helps, not only when he was coaching, helped young men prepare for a better life by making sure that they were well educated and had a good outlook towards life. And that after he retired from coaching and became an athletic director, I think he helped a great deal of people in his department.
I admire that Stan makes himself available. He's got a very busy schedule. If Stan makes a commitment, he is going to be there. And if he says he's going to do something, he does it. He is usually on committees. He's the first person to arrive and the last person to leave.
Do you know the name Will Rogers? Okay, Will Rogers was a humorist in the 30s. He's considered to be Oklahoma's favorite son. He was killed in a plane crash with another guy by the name of Wiley Post in northern Alaska. And Will Rogers was famous for humorous sayings. But one of the things for which he's most famous is his statement that I never met a man I didn't like. You pretty much can say that about Stan. He is warm, he is friendly, he will always try to be a help to anybody who needs his help. I can't remember the musical, but there's a song in it about a girl who just can't say no. That's Stan Morrison. He's a guy who just can't say no. He will always find a way to say yes.
that he was very tall, and particularly when he came to meet my parents. My mother was very small. She was about almost 5'2". So when he came to visit us, it was a rainy day or a rainy evening, and he had a trench coat on, and it wasn't tied at the waist, so it hung from his shoulders down. And when my mother opened the door, he just looked huge. She hadn't realized that he was a lot thinner than the coat would make him appear. And she came to call me and she said, "Are you sure you want to go out with him?" Because he looked a little too big in her eyes.
Stan is the leader of a group of people that get together for culminating events, Super Bowl, NBA Finals, the Final Four, and he convenes the Morrison Monsters, and the sports talk and the humor flows from there. Diverse people at the table, and we just have a good old time getting involved with the special event. And Stan is the leader, and wherever he sits is the head of the table. And a lot of times it's just a lighthearted touch watching a sporting event, and you can learn a lot just by seeing people interact with their peers and with former players and coaches. It's really quite interesting, and there's a lot of laughter involved.
Some years ago, my wife and I, and Stan and his wife and I, were on a tour in Israel, and we had dinner at one place, basically in the northern Galilee section. And we left from the restaurant and we're heading towards, I want to say it's Jerusalem. What Stan hadn't recognized was that he had left his cell phone at the restaurant. Someone at the restaurant managed to get into his cell phone and called the first number they could find, which happened to be Stan's son's number back here in the States. Stan's son was trying to get a hold of me. I'm with Stan. I rarely carried my cell phone. He couldn't get a hold of me, but he managed to get a hold of someone at our hotel. As we walk in, it quickly becomes apparent Stan doesn't have a cell phone, and there's a message for Stan. His cell phone has been found. It's back at the restaurant where we had come from, and Stan convinced our driver guide to drive him back an hour and a half each way to go pick up his cell phone. Needless to say, Stan treated the guy right, and we had a tremendous driver guide.
It's his target date. He would like to live that long and live a very productive life, and there's a lot of things he wants to accomplish between now and then, and I hope he can, and I hope I can help him accomplish those things. I plan to live to 117 so I can take care of him.
I've heard that he was interacting with a mentor, and he was age 58 at the time, and the person had asked him, well, how long do you want to live? And Stan really, at that point, hadn't thought about it too much.
In any case, at the end of this course, the statement was made that this is the first day of the second part of your life, the second half of your life. Stan was 58, twice 58, 116.
When you get an email from Stan, it says 116 in quotes underneath whatever the email is about. And so I have no doubt that Stan will live to be 116, and he'll be doing good works just as he does today.
My name is Stan Morrison. I have Stan Morrison Consulting. I was born in Linwood, California in 1939. I didn't play basketball until I was in my freshman year in high school, and I was taking the physical education class with everyone else. I had always played baseball and run track and field, and my physical education coach, Mr. John Kane, who later became my basketball coach, said to me, you know, you're going to be tall. I was just 5'8" at the time. And he said, but you're quick and you're fast and you jump high. You should try basketball. And whatever the coach said, that's what you did. And I went out for basketball at that time. I met my wife in college as freshman. She was in a class with my roommate, an Italian, told me about this beautiful blonde in his class. So one day I was on campus and he said, I have to go to class. And he said he was going to the Italian class and I said, can I go with you? I want to see this girl. And we walked up the stairs and she was ahead of me and she turned around and smiled. And it was over. It was absolutely over at that time. We dated for 4 years and got married in the summer after graduating. Our team was well known nationally, and in my sophomore year we won the national championship, the Final Four. In my junior year we lost in the final game. So in my senior year I had great games against Stanford University, and there was a student by the name of Julio Feo who was associated with Real Madrid, and he saw me play and he made contact with Real Madrid. And so one thing led to another, and he said, we'd love to have you come to Spain to play. You're allowed to have 2 players on a foreign team from America. And I said, well, I was thinking about getting married in the summer. He said, well, get married and bring your wife. And so we were married on August 12th in 1961. And on August 22nd, we arrived in Madrid, Spain, to play for the richest sports club in the world, Real Madrid. Soccer was their big sport, of course, and we did very well. We won the national championship in Spain, and we got to the finals of the European Championship and lost to Dynamo of Tbilisi, the Russian team. And it was a fabulous experience. Neither of us had ever been out of the country, and so it was, she had been to Canada. Her family was originally from Canada, up in Nova Scotia. And I was one of the first Americans to play international basketball. And there was another outstanding, a great player that was a teammate of mine. He's passed away now, but he played in the NBA as well. His name was Wayne Hightower. And so when we got there, they took great care of us. We had a wonderful apartment, wonderful teammates, traveled first class everywhere. Real Madrid not only had basketball, they had obviously soccer. The stadium in soccer held 68,000 people, Stadio Santiago Bernabeu. He was the president, friend, and in 13 years, it had never had an empty seat. And so they really had the money to take care of you first class, and that all worked out very, very well. The NBA then only had 8 teams. And so, you know, the draft it was so different in those days. The minimum for a player coming into the NBA then was $12,500. We have players in the NBA today who make that much to make a free throw. And so it wasn't very much money. And I knew I wanted to be a coach. And so the opportunity to go to Spain was there, and so I jumped at it. In my sophomore year in college, I was an art and architecture student when I went to Berkeley. And when we won the championship, I was with my teammates. They were celebrating in Louisville, Kentucky, where the tournament was held. And I said, I want to be in that environment for the rest of my life. And so I changed to physical education. Now they call it kinesiology. That sounds a little more scientific. But then they call it phys ed, or physical education. And I thought it was going to be an easy major until I was competing with pre-med kids in anatomy, kinesiology, exercise physiology. And so I did that, never regretted it, loved coaching, and loved being in that major and going on with my life. I never played to be in the Hall of Fame. I played because I love the game and I love to compete. And I was small for a center when I played at Cal, and I got to play forward primarily for Real Madrid and saw that I could do that. And then I later played for the San Francisco Olympic Club when AAU was a very big thing. When I was told that I was going to be inducted into the California Hall of Fame, Sport Hall of Fame, I was stunned and thrilled. It was a great, great honor, and it was a wonderful evening. The celebration and the banquet was held at the Morongo Casino, and I was inducted with 4 other people. Well, it used to be 27. I'm working now with 20 nonprofit organizations, mostly helping fundraise. I'm a speaker, I'm the MC, I'm the auctioneer for a lot of organizations when they are doing their fundraising. And yes, it is true. They're all youth-oriented, mostly. Boy Scouts, the Unforgettables, Olive Crest. I mean, I've been very involved with the American Cancer Society, the American Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the American Diabetes Association, and it goes on and on. All different kinds of organizations that are helping young kids. A lot of kids who are from lower income homes, who don't have many advantages at all, and I'm in a position to be of assistance to them and help them. And I help a lot of people who I'll never meet or see. And that's a great feeling. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I'm in a position to do. Certainly with the Unforgettables, where a family finds themselves in the most grief-stricken moments of their lives. They've lost a child, either at birth, or SIDS, or a stray bullet, or an automobile accident, or suicide, or any one of a number of ways that young people die through drugs, drug overdose, all kinds of things that occur. And a family discovers they cannot afford a dignified burial. And so with that, we step in and assist the burial of their child. This past year, we buried 201 children. I was poor as a young man. And worked. I started working when I was 8 years old. It was my first job picking green beans. It was kind of a game for me. We filled gunny sacks, and a full gunny sack, you earned 10 cents. And I thought it was a lot of money. And the area where I worked is now called Huntington Beach. Okay. So anyway, then I had a paper route when I was 10, and I had a paper route for 3 years. And up through, including my freshman year in high school. And then I worked in restaurants for all the way through high school. And I just thought everybody worked. I didn't know I was poor. I didn't discover that until I got to college, that I had been poor. And anyway, it was, to help at home, bring my check home and help out there because things were tough. And then, after going to college, I had this great scholarship and worked during the time I was in college as well because I could never get enough to eat. I could out-eat everybody, and so I worked in a sorority as a pot washer, then a dishwasher, and then hashing, serving the tables where all the women were eating. Did that the last 2 years in college, in addition to being a basketball player and going to school. And it was good, so I could eat all I wanted because I really wanted to eat. And then I realized after going to Europe and playing basketball and coming back home, that I had a lot of people in my life that were really helpful for me to get an education and also, helped me along the way, which I never took for granted. My coaches in particular were my high school coach and certainly my university coach were really important men in my life. And I lost my dad. I was a very young guy. I was 22 when he passed away. So just learning and knowing how to appreciate people who were great role models, that they worked really hard and diligently and were responsible and always on time and not afraid to get their hands dirty and always had time for you. You know, if I had a problem or a situation come up, they'd be there to help me. And I thought if I could do that for other people in other organizations, like I do with the organizations that I work with, and helping people that I'll never meet or see, I thought that would be a great thing. I know that I can make a difference in some lives, and I continue to do that. Of all the things, you know, that I've sought as a goal, the single greatest goal I've ever had is to live to 116 years of age. I'm 83 now, so I have 33 more years to go. This is not serendipitous. This is very, very real. I am vice president of a company called the Dudek Group, D-U-D-E-C-K. John Dudek has done more research in human performance than anyone. And I met John when I was coaching at San Jose State, and we hit it off immediately, and he asked me to be the vice president of the Dudek Group. And I said, John, what would you have me do? And he said, I want you to be able to put me in front of people who have genius level thinking in their work. Well, I've been around the block a couple of times and I know a lot of people. And the second part was to work with the clients that came into us. And this is not a weekend pump up where you walk on hot coals. 32 meetings over 18 months, each is 2.5 to 4 hours long with John Dudek. And so I said, John, if I'm going to do this, I want to go through the program. And normally it takes 18 months to do it. He and I did it in 6 weeks, every single day. And it was life-changing for me. It was really significant. And 2/3 of the way through the class, he walked into where we were meeting, and he said, today's the day. I said, the day for what? To declare how old you want to live to be. And I said, okay. I said, John, today is the first day of the second half of my life. And he said to me, well, you're 58. That means 116. So I said, well, if you'll change my bedpan and push my wheelchair, I will make it. So that's the goal. I'm 83, and I have 33 years left to go, and I'll get to 116, and I want to take my wife along for that trip. I need my wife there too. My greatest accomplishment is having a son and daughter that are magnificent parents. We have 4 grandchildren, 2 with each of my son and my daughter. My daughter lives in Texas. My son lives in Santa Barbara. They are very, very different people. They both did it differently, and they both raised their children brilliantly. They're wonderful kids. They're outstanding citizens. They know what giving back to their community means. Both my son and my daughter do, as well as my grandchildren. And I think that's our greatest accomplishment. Thank you.